YouTube? Zuki M1 here, and I am back with a brand new YouTube video. Today we are going to be bringing you guys something brand new that you haven't seen on the channel before. It is called Gate Ruler. So I recently went to my first Gate Ruler tournament on Friday, about 2 weeks ago. So not last Friday, but the Friday before that. And I got second place. I played a Genesis Dragon deck, and I just want to show you guys the list and see what you guys think. So we're going to start off with all the creatures, and then I'll go into the dragon selection and spells and everything else like that. In terms of matchups, I didn't really have any rough matchups per se. I did, however, kind of bricked a little bit. There was a couple times where I didn't see I didn't see the witches, which you'll see in a second. That's like one of the most important pieces of the whole entire deck. So if you don't see those, it tend to be pretty hard. But here's the monster count. As you can see, primarily all monsters, so no real spells that you're going to be using to try to get rid of creatures on your opponent's side of the field. Everything that gets rid of monsters is through battle here or with the deck. So the most important pieces are this lady right here. Her name is, how do I say this? Ooh boy. Yeah, so she's one of the most important witches right here. And then I think the best witch is actually her. So her name is Frontline Mage. I don't know how to say her name. What she does, I'm gonna tell you what both of them do, and then you guys can decide which one you like more between the two. But this one, what she does is you can target a face-up warrior and or spellcaster, and once you do, you can increase their level by 1. And if you do, you can well, you don't have to increase their level, but afterwards you can Genesis summon. Genesis summon is basically like synchro summoning, if you're familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh, where you just count up the stars and then make the summon. So she has 2 right up there, if you guys can see that. And most of the time, the other creature is going to be a 1 or lower. So, and then you make them a 1 or 2, right? And then you can Genesis summon, but it doesn't have to be the exact level. It can be over as well. So you can go 2 and 2 to make a 3 dragon. But that's beside the point. Her effect is that she can increase the level. Then after you increase the level, when you Genesis summon, you draw a card, and she allows you to summon an additional monster. She is absolutely insane. She literally has 3 effects for no reason at all that all benefit you. And she's a counter. So, you know, she does a lot of work. And when you Genesis summon, just so you remember, the monsters go back into your deck. So when you Genesis summon, both of those creatures go back into your deck. So you're going to put a counter back into your deck just for summoning another creature. So she serves you 4 purposes. First one, she makes a body on board become whatever you need it to become. Second, she allows you to summon an additional creature to insinuate more plays. Third, she draws you an extra card, which does come up quite a bit actually when you need more cards in hand. And then lastly, she also recycles herself back into the deck, which allows you to go for more Genesis plays and or more an additional counter to protect you from taking damage the next turn. She does everything that you possibly need. She is still really good though. What she does is that she can special summon a familiar from the graveyard and then increases its level. You'll see a couple other familiars in the deck. She also has the same effect where she can target, besides just a familiar, a warrior or a spellcaster, and then Genesis summon with it. But she doesn't increase their level. So she doesn't naturally increase their level, but she does get the special summon creatures from the graveyard. So she only counts for one summon. Because in this game, you got one summon. I mean, you got two summons. And she takes up one for two, but she gets to special summon back something from the graveyard that you need, and then you can use it for a Genesis summon to bring out a dragon. And all of your dragons cost 3, so you basically pay two resources to summon a big dragon. So both of these cards are absolutely necessary. You always want to see these cards. Whenever you don't see these cards, you're a very sad boy or girl or non-gender binary person. Alright, so some of the familiars. This is a familiar, which is also a counter. It doesn't have any attack, and it doesn't strike your opponent for anything. So if you hit your opponent, you don't get anything for it. It's literally just a body to use for Genesis summoning, a counter to protect yourself from getting killed, and also just a overall just blocker, right? It's a familiar, it's a blocker, and it's also a counter. So it's pretty good. And you gotta run for this as well, just because again it's a familiar, so she can bring this back from the grave and go for more plays and stuff like that. So that's a really good card. Another good card is this guy right here. I can't pronounce this dude's name. Westlot Imperial Legionnaire. Okay. Basically, when you summon this creature, touchdown is when you summon a creature. So you summon this guy, he gives you back a resource, which can also combo further play. So if you spend 2 to summon one of the witches, you can drop him for the second summon, and either your blocker zone or in the other active creature zone, bring back one of the resources that you have, and then you can set one of your spells face down to use during your opponent turn, which can, again, it can come up. Another familiar, which is one of my personal favorite familiars. So this familiar right here, I don't know how to say his name. I think it's like Calico Cat 6. What it does is that it's able to treat itself as a warrior or a spellcaster, and it can also increase its level by either 1 or 2, which allows you to be able to go for Genesis summons of level 3s or 4s. So it's really good. It doesn't do anything outside of that, but it does strike your opponent for something. So, I mean, and it has like 2 strength, so it's not terrible. Like I said, it's there for just for Genesis summoning. Outside of that, it really don't do too much. You can recycle it with her again, like I stated before, which is that comes up. So she is it's a pretty good card. It's a great extender. All right, on to other cards that we just run in the deck. It's not really, they're not like combo pieces per se, but they're like okay cards to run. Once I get more cards from set 3, I'm probably going to replace these cards. But these two right here, other filler cards. I think that's just it. Yeah, that is it. Outside of the dragons. So this guy right here is strictly just a blocker. He does 0 damage to your opponent if you strike him. You can use him as a blocker. You can also use him to attack into creatures, but he only does like 3 damage, but he also costs 0. So he's always just a really good body to put in front of your opponent. It soaks up a lot of damage, so it either forces your opponent to have to strike it with 2 creatures or strike it with one of the really big creatures. It's pretty good. It comes up. It saved me a couple times too, so I like the guy. This guy right here, he's just a beat stick. He does 5 damage, which again is the exact amount to kill the blocker, right? Most blockers are going to have about 5 health, so he does 5 and he costs 0 to summon, so you just drop him, swing, right? And he also does a point of damage to your to the other rulers. So I mean, it's not terrible. It comes up again, like I stated before. Both of these are warriors, by the way, so you can use both of these for Genesis summoning. It's just very hard to level manipulate these guys without the red witch. Because they're zero cost, right? So because they're zero cost, if you had the blue witch, she cannot level manipulate them, meaning you can't Genesis summon for a 3-cost dragon. And that is it for the lower monsters. Now we're gonna get on to the dragons, and I'll just put them all out so we can, so I can explain all the dragons and what they supposed to be doing. So here you go. So we have 4 dragons in the deck. This is a one-of because he's a legendary dragon. I'll get onto him in a second. But these 3 I run 4 copies of. Now a lot of people don't like running 3 copies of dragons in their 4 copies of dragons in their deck because it could be a little bit bricky. That means 12 cards in my deck are 3-cost drops. That's eating up all of my resources. I don't have any more resources afterwards unless I got the Legionnaire, the knight that I showed you guys earlier that gives you back a mana. And then on your next turn, when you're untapping everything, you untap 2 mana, so then you have 4 mana again. But that's extremely situational. Most of the time, you're just going to untap 2 and just be sitting on the top of a big dragon. But let's go over why these guys matter. So this guy right here is probably one of the best defensive options you have available as a dragon. What he does is, all the damage that my ruler receives while he's face up on the field becomes 1. So if an enemy strikes me for 6 damage, that 6 damage become 1 damage. So this card is insane if he gets to sit on the field. Plus he still does 5 damage and he strikes for 2. So if he hits the enemy ruler, he's going to check them for 2. He's going to deal 2 damage to them, which is really good. This guy right here is really great against certain matchups, like back row heavy matchups. What he does is he attacks before he deals damage to whatever he's about to battle. He can pop a card on your opponent's field that's face down. And that's a set card. And once he pops it, then they can activate shit or whatever. So he comes up a lot. He's pretty annoying in a lot of certain matchups and things of that nature. I don't go into him as much, but I do go into him to help me thin out my opponent's back row and stuff like that. Plus they have to commit a lot to killing him because he has 6 health. 6 health does matter because, again, that's either 2 attacks, 3 attacks, or a big spell like Zap Zap Zap, which does 6 damage, and that costs 3 mana. You see what I'm saying? So like he forces your opponent to do a lot of stuff that they didn't want to do. Now the best dragon, honestly, in my personal opinion, outside of this guy, is definitely this dude right here. Right? What he does is extremely simple. When you Genesis summon him, I can put back 1 of the damage that was dealt to me. After I put back 1 of the damage that was dealt to me into my graveyard. So like, say for instance, I took 10 damage. I'm right there from dying. I bring him out. He'll heal me for 1, and then there's a field card that we run in this deck that also is a counter, which can also heal you for 1 when you Genesis summon. So you will heal for 2, and he has a ability called I think it's Breakthrough in this game. Yes, Breakthrough. So Breakthrough, what that does is, if you've ever played Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh with Piercing or Legends of Runeterra with Overwhelm, essentially it deals the damage to your opponent creature, and the exceeding damage is dealt to the ruler. So for instance, this guy does 7 damage. 7 damage. He is huge. He does 7 damage. So majority of the time, he's always going to kill that defender unless they go out of their way to try to increase their health. But then again, you're forcing your opponent to waste resources on trying to protect themselves. So he does 7 damage, he kills the creature, and then I get to strike you for 2. So not only did you not prevent yourself from taking damage like you were hoping to do with the blocker, but I also cracked open your board for other creatures to strike at you. This guy is absolutely insane. Every single one of my matchups I won strictly because of this card. If there's no other dragon that you run inside the Genesis Dragon deck, make sure you run this card because it is absolutely busted. But another good comeback dragon card that you can run if you have it is this guy, which his name is yeah, we're not gonna try to pronounce that. Just know he's a legendary dragon. He's a legendary dragon with 7 health, 7 damage, and he strikes the enemy for 3 whole damage, the same amount of damage as a ruler. Basically what he does is he has an ability called Blazing Retribution. Depending on how much damage I took, like the example I gave you guys earlier with 10 damage, if I play him while I have 10 damage, I get to deal 10 damage across the board to my opponent's creatures and just clear out the board, swing for 3, swing with my ruler. That's 6 damage in 1 turn with this guy. He is a great comeback factor card. And because he's legendary, unfortunately, you can only run 1 copy of him because obviously you would run him at 4 if you could. Yeah. So those are the dragons. That's the whole spice, right? That's pretty much the whole deck. Now we're gonna go on to the spells that you run in the deck. I think we only run 3. Yes, we only run 3. All right. So the 3 spells that you run in the deck is a card that prevents you from taking damage by activating. Essentially, you just flip it up, protect the dragon, and now they gotta try to waste more resources in killing your dragon again. And it's also a counter, so it just prevents you from taking damage. So it's all around good card. Nothing bad about it. The next one, this is the field card that I was talking about before. It's also a counter, like I stated before, so it's really good if you can get it off an attack, because when your opponent attacks you, this card gets put into play. When this card is put into play, when you Genesis summon, you don't get to choose though. That is the one sucky part. So be careful who you Genesis summon, because if you only got 1 damage and you Genesis summon into the white dragon because you want to pierce the defender, you're gonna heal for 2, but you only got 1 damage. So that was kind of a waste of cards. You know what I mean? So be careful with this. It does have to happen in terms of the you don't get to choose when this happens. It just happens as soon as you Genesis summon. But this card is actually really good. Like I stated before, it's a counter, and it heals you for 1 when you Genesis summon. And then the last card is the Demon Lord card. Essentially what you do is, let's say I got too many starters and no big monsters, or I got too many big monsters and no starters. You can put 1 card back at the bottom of the deck and then draw 2 cards. Pretty good, but it costs 2 to activate. And that's 2 to not really necessarily advance your game state. So it does come up where you do want to use it, but it's not like crazy. Majority of the time I use this on my opponent's turn, and or after I had enough field presence for it not to keep me from advancing my game state. And that's pretty much it. That's the whole deck, guys. Changes that I would make to the deck. Like I said, I want to put in quite a few different cards from set 4. There's a new dragon that costs 4 that you can play. And there's a couple other new cards that I feel are pretty good to try out. But I haven't seen all the cards from set 3 yet. So this is the best dragon build that I have at the moment. I'll be making steady improvements to the deck as I continue to play. And this was what I got for winning. Well, not winning, getting 2nd place. I did lose to Jabron, He's like the local bully, you know, that one guy at locals who always stomp on everybody. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed my deck profile, and if you did, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. But this has been Zuki M1. I hope you guys have a great morning, great evening, great afternoon, and great night. But I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.